Welcome to AIWhy, a podcast that celebrates the stories of business leaders like Brett who have real practical ways that they're using AI with their customers and employees. Their stories are going to inform and inspire you about how to bring practical AI into your business. My name is Alex Bratton. I'm the CEO and Chief Geek of LexTech, and more recently, a fractional Chief AI Officer. And I'm helping implement AI with a variety of businesses of all shapes and sizes. So whether folks have 5 employees or 5,000, AIWhy is all about practical AI for the business. And that's the key. We have to have a why anytime we're looking at AI. So today with me, I have Brett, who's going to be sharing some of his practical experiences with AI. Brett, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Humbled to be here and grateful. This is going to be exciting.
I know you've had some awesome experience with AI, and I can't wait to learn a little bit more about that. And as we get started, can you tell us a little bit more about, I'll say, your core business and who the customers are and what you do for them?
Yep. We improve lives by improving homes. And what we mean by that is we're in the residential space for remodels, interior and exterior, nothing out of the ground. So the construction field, basically, in the residential, we don't do any commercial work.
Got it. And when you're traditionally working with folks, what did that process look like? Because I know you've transformed it. What did it look like traditionally to do a kitchen remodel?
So what it looked like at the beginning was in regards to how we sold the product or presented to a customer, it was a little bit time consuming for sure. The traditional where you go in, someone comes out, looks at your home, gets measurements, takes those back, puts it into a design, gets a budget. That was a very long tail in the industry just to begin with. We shortened that pretty quick in regards to where we were able to go to a home and create an actual budget for them, do a design quicker. So we would turn it around probably about 50% faster than our competition. So that's how we went to business since probably 2014 on the interior part of the business. And the exterior part, I've been since the early 90s, been able to put in like laptops and printers into our trucks and be able to give estimates right on the spot, within a couple hours after measuring everything. So, but that's how we traditionally went to business.
Leaning into technology for a while and trying to see where it could help things. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So where did you first start applying AI in the business process? Was it on the sales side?
Yes, it was. Yes, absolutely. My
And
goal was to get to a no as fast as possible to get to the next lead.
got it. And so when you first started putting it in there, what did that look like in terms of using AI?
We generally will do that in like the leadership team, a higher level, and run it side by side. So what it looked like was just something simple as having a third party doing our renderings at the beginning, like they could produce the renderings faster, not as fast as we do them today, but so that started sparking some interest in regards how can we do it faster. So that's how we started doing it. And just as the visionary of the company, how I really got kicked into it was through you, Alex, and through Leader AI Edge when we started talking. Gosh, it's been almost a year. I think it was last September that we had our meeting, that we were talking. And that's when I really started seeing, this is starting to get some acceleration. This is getting some traction. That flywheel starting to spin in my head. So that really helped me just figuring out the basics of like chat and how to get in there, how to do customized chat GPTs, which you helped me. There's some good courses inside the Leader AI Edge community, so Leader Edge AI community. So that's been really good for me. So that's kind of how it starts. It's just like everything in AI. I think that it feels like I've been doing it forever, but really it's been
A year, yeah.
a year.
So looking back on that, and I had plenty, I'm curious, what was your first wow moment when you were using AI? What, if you can remember that, what was the first thing you said, holy cow?
So I would say my first wow was when I started seeing where I was able to take a picture, and I think you and I discussed this at one of the meetings, is that can I take this picture, talk to, a kitchen picture, talk to chat and tell it what I want and have it render it. And it rendered it within a minute and a half, exactly what that client would want. And that's where I was like, okay, wow, this is going to be an industry disruptor. because I'm basically a designer on the spot and creating, at least visually at the front end, what someone would want, and they're not waiting 3 or 4 weeks to see that.
And that's a really interesting example because I know lots of folks are using AI to create graphics and images, but what you're talking about is structurally a lot more complex. It's actually a room design and components and things, which it goes way beyond just give me a picture of a fuzzy rabbit.
Correct. We can do that too. But it was great that, yeah, we were able to, yeah, exactly what you're saying. And then now it's got to the point where I can move mechanicals and, move walls and put things in that I couldn't do before. And really what that's designed to do is, obviously, as anybody in sales, is people are visual, they want to see what's your capability, how fast can you get that to me? And now we've actually trained it. It can actually measure a kitchen, and it can give them a breakdown of all the material, all the labor, and give them a retainer agreement. And we do that in about 7 minutes or less in
That's
their house.
awesome. That is just
So
awesome. And you mentioned the training, obviously, that you guys have put in a lot of thinking to look at the process that you used to have and where you got it today. As you were first leaning into that and where you're going from here, of course, our core question for AIWhy is what's the why? Is it about time savings? Is it about a better customer experience? What are the things that you guys are hoping to achieve with AI in that sales process?
yeah, that's a great question. So in reality, the biggest thing for us is obviously it's time, and then also making what we have better and smarter. A lot of salespeople, project managers, leaders to be able to make decisions more educated and also faster than we used to in the past. And then just being able to test it inside of a lot of the AIs. An example of that is we had a book that we were putting together. A company was going to charge us like $25,000 to build that playbook out with all the videos and stuff you can click on, like, hey, what do I do once I sell something? Click on it. So our COO, Felicia, she was able to, in GenSpark, one of the programs that we use, AIs, was able to put that in there, all our data, and then she was able to create that in about 10 minutes. Saved us $25,000. Now, keep in mind, one of the things we've learned, you've helped propel this with what you've done with your community, and the mindset that you have within your company is we've learned a lot of things that I'm just flabbergasted a lot of people don't know, but like we record everything in our business. I have a plot on my hand. Anything we do we ask permission to clients and customers, and we're just doing amazing things, but we're
Let's
retaining all the data.
and let's focus on that for a second. So because
Okay.
I'm fully in agreement that so much of our collective intellectual property is just in conversation. So it's
Mm.
awesome to see you begin living that. Any pushback from the team as you implemented that? How did you approach that of, hey, we want to capture this?
Well, anything we roll out, I tested it, and then we create scripts, role play it. Like, hey, Alex, you mind if, whenever I'm writing stuff down, I can't listen as well. So do you mind if we record this conversation? And then what we've been doing is we'll tell them, we'll give you the summary of our conversation. So when you ask the question, that any pushback, not really, because there would have been pushback if I just said, okay, Alex, go record all your presentations. You'd be like, okay, that's uncomfortable. So we roll it out, role play it, train it, make sure that our team understands what they're doing so that they're going to get there's a purpose to it. We're going to create a podcast. We're going to send it to the client. We're going to create a song and a genre or artist that the client likes. So there's a lot of those different things. The purpose of it, the why, like you said, behind why are you making me do this, Brett? Or how come we're doing this? So, and then they see the traction and the excitement. Once they do it once, usually that's all it takes. All of a sudden they're like, oh, it really does work.
Nice. So you're winning the internal hearts and minds and then customers eventually by folks living. That's awesome. And again, I think you're just an awesome example of someone who has really leaned into living it. And that's a big key of this is that a lot of folks can poke at it, but you're living it, nothing terribly crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but continuing to take those steps forward in the tools. And I remember from some of our earlier conversations is the world was getting started with AI. And here we are less than a year later, and you are just blazing ahead of folks in your industry. It is really exciting to see that.
Yeah, it's an interesting dilemma that I've been able to help even other people just where they're trying to use it, just use it in front of them. Like, hey, listen, tell me what you want to do. And one of the meetings we were at, open my chat, said, talk to it. Tell me what you want. And I produced it for them. They're like, holy cow. But it's been really nice to like even take I obviously chief geek, there's rabbit holes you can go down. So I'm probably on 20 or 25 AIs where our team's only on two or three. And then my integrators on our COOs on maybe 10 of them. But I'm testing them all the time, playing with them. And the one that we've done, which I just recently done, Spark is just like my go-to anymore, where they can actually create slides. And I had this mind map of what I was trying to create and our biggest thing is how are we going to take what we're doing and market it so that we become that AI next generation design company. What does that look like for them to actually know that's what they're getting? And I put it in there and created for each side, the interior and exterior, created like a 12-page slideshow, like almost a website. And I'm like, holy crap. I took a mind map that I had and a prompt that I created, just talking into it for about 2 minutes. And it created all of that I could push to our team. And then now it's out of my head on paper and in slideshows. I'm like, and they're like, oh, now we get what you're thinking. Now we understand what you want.
And as a visual thinker myself, I know how important that is to get those things out. And again, I think that is such an awesome approach to make something visual so other people can just internalize it. Again, make it practical, make it real, because otherwise it's just fuzzy.
Yes.
And again, the fact that you're just leaning into the next tool, not that you want to be an IT geek coding stuff, but I think, I think it's one of the examples of the personality trait we really need for our leaders going forward is that curiosity
Yeah.
of, hey, how does this enable us and what else is out there? And again, you're living it. And that's really cool.
Yeah, and I think too that thank you, and I appreciate that. The other thing I've learned is that I've learned to take and ask AI to create prompts for me to create, here's a scenario I'm trying to do, and then just allowing it to unbiasedly create things, and it creates things that I would probably never thought of. Like example, like if you're creating a logo, I'm trying to tell it what I want, and it's 10 iterations, and I'm getting pissed off because it's like, oh, it's not getting what I want. But I said, well, tell you what, here's blah 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 blah. Like this color scheme, blah. Can you create a prompt that will allow me to create this logo? And within two, it was 95%. And that 10-80-10, we still got to need humans. That 10% were what I just did, 80% AI does it, 10% we're reviewing it, checking it, and that's what we're doing with these slides that we made, with the playbook that we made. It's tweaked and just trying to those things out and just getting it into the hands of the team. I mean, they were begging for it because they hear us talking about it. Even just like take it home and create a grocery list. My daughter, the CEO, was doing grocery lists and all this, and Kevin, our project manager, is like, oh, he goes, I want to do that. I could. This is a pain in the butt to do all this stuff. Yeah, so we gave it to him, and he's been playing with it, and he brings every operations meeting something he's played in and done. So now we got to get him to do it for the business.
And I love that folks are doing it personally and sharing. I know that's where we had a lot of success was people leaning in for business things and others, but it was the sharing successes or failures that really helped folks internalize it. What kind of things did you do to help encourage folks to do the experimenting and then the sharing piece? Anything you put together around that?
Just I gave them some ideas and then let them have access to chat and perplexity. And we said, just play with it and bring back, it doesn't matter what it is, just bring it back to us every meeting. So that they set aside in their weekly meeting and the ops, I'm not involved in them, but they're actually like a 5-minute share. What did you do with one of the tools that you did? And then Felicia and Claire, which is Felicia's EA, is creating off of your framework of how you implemented it inside of your company. They've created a customized playbook for a 4-week or 5-week course. And the only tweaks we made were like it's actually going to put in there. They trained it to give us real live scenarios of what our team would be doing, like a salesperson or a project manager, so that they can like, oh, I can use perplexity for that, or I can find so many, I can train myself on something, so that's what she's doing now is I think they're rolling that out in the next couple of weeks to bring that to our team so that they can actually do real live, like almost I wouldn't say tests, but actual scenarios that make
Go live.
sense, and then build off of that, give them
Wow, that's
success.
very cool. You're blazing ahead. I love that. Now, so we talked about some of those successes. I know I've run face first into a couple of walls related to AI. Any that jump out at you where you had kind of a, I'll say a misstep or a mistake or a fail that the team was able to learn from?
What we're running, the wall we're running into now is that last 10%. Someone that can polish it and make it marketable. We don't have quite the skill set to do that or the time. So that's where we're really looking hard into an AI seat in our company that's what they do, whether it's fractional or per project or something like that. I wouldn't say there's really anything that I was like, holy crap, that didn't work. That was horrible or not what I was expecting. Yeah, not anything. I was able, some of the things, well, I'll give you one with my Bible study, is that you really need to tell it what resources you want to pull from. You don't want to be pulling from every single religion or whatever in the world. And I was getting some pretty weird stuff, when I'd put it in there and
That
spitting
would be
stuff.
interesting if that was a cross-religion Bible study. I could see some confusion coming
Right.
out of that.
Was like, wait a minute, I don't know if that's what we believe. And so then I had to tweak that and give it some resources and things like that. Because obviously that's something that I take that very seriously. If I'm leading somebody, I want to make sure that I'm giving the right context and also the right content to them to learn. I don't want to steer anybody off the path or give them something that isn't true.
I think that is a wonderful example of something that really needs to be right. And building those guardrails into the prompt and some of the citations of where did this actually come from. And I know that's something that, again, I've definitely seen a lot of learning myself over time with that of in the early days of things being created and whether that was a marketing piece or whether that was a plan, we're brainstorming those kind of things, but that just the double checking kind of thing, I definitely see value in that.
Yeah, and I think too, like one of the other obstacles that we ran into is when we would do those renders and say I wanted to make the cabinets all of a sudden say black. Well, it would do that, but then it would like change and move stuff. I'm like a high school kid. I'm like slapping. I'm like, no, no, that's so what I've learned to do is say things like, hey, I'd like now to render this same rendering that you had, keep everything the same and change the cabinets black. Don't change anything, and it'll listen.
So being
90%.
very specific. Oh, okay, yeah. Because it's always going to be a little random. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll tell you that it's amazing, Alex. So I'll test it. I'll go out on a siding job and they'll be like, I want to have this dark board bed, 3 feet of stone on the bottom and this and this. I said, okay, that sounds good. And I take a digital picture and they're still talking to me. And then I say, excuse me for a second. And I talk to chat exactly what they were telling me they wanted. And then they're talking some more while it's generating. And I'm like, is this what you're thinking? And they're like, holy cow, I love it. I've sold 4 siding jobs out of 4 doing that just off of being able to render it on the
Something
spot
that takes
within
60
5 minutes.
seconds.
Yep.
Nice. Yep.
So
And
it's
that sounds, again, beautiful of not replacing our current processes with AI, but seeing where does it augment, where does it take that friction out of, and again, you're dealing with customers asking for something that they don't know what it looks like. I
correct.
see that same thing in the software world. Like, what's that really going to look like? If we can make it real for people, and I think AI gives us a way to get there faster, that's really cool.
Yeah, and I saw too when you're thinking of apps, and we're both visionaries and we have all these crazy ideas. Someone on LinkedIn I follow, he made this prompt where he's able to and take a product and something he's built and everything, then it makes like a landing page and tests it, and then it goes through and to see if it's even something possible. He'll run it for like a month, and then he'll see it'll say like if you click through to like, oh yeah, I'd love to have that. It'll say coming soon.
Oh,
So he'll be
a
yeah.
market test. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be able to say, okay, 1,000 people, are going to do it, or only 2. Well, probably not a good idea to move forward with that.
Yes, yes. Well, so you've talked about all kinds of great positive things, and if we look at again, not necessarily rewinding all the way to September, but in terms of the impact that AI has had on your business already, any metrics or any whys you could give in terms of process speed ups or just other benefits that you could articulate, just any numbers you could throw out of what it's done for you.
So I would say first and foremost is that it's a mindset that we're an AI driven company. that we rely on AI, and that's there was no 1 foot over here and 1 foot over in AI. This was we're doing this. So that's been the biggest thing. So just the one example is just that $25,000 that we saved on a playbook that we would have probably pulled the trigger on probably this past summer if we wouldn't have found some of the AI and been involved in the community and stuff like that, that we're able to find those things. It also has really helped us on the marketing side. We're seeing so much stuff that we can do that for what we pay an agency, we can get it done for a lot less and a lot faster and be able to test it and get results at a faster pace. Just those metrics that we're looking for, we can get those a lot faster and make pivots and adjustments faster than we used to. So not specific numbers, but I would say that, we've had our best 6 months to date. So the numbers are good. Can I attribute 100% to AI? No, but it's a mindset. People are just blown away by the stuff, but it's more the back end stuff we're doing, like reports and financing, cash flow, playbooks, the team just using things to solve problems. So they're kind of intangible stuff, but they're priced in the speed that we get in. And also what it's done is I had the outside edge of the puzzle done, and then we're trying to fill it in. Well, it's like we're moving so much faster. And that's what I'm telling our team. I'm thinking you guys are thinking way too small and way too slow. We can do this 100 times faster, and we can get to where we want to go so much faster and easier than we ever thought we could.
I love it. I love it. And again, just seeing your progression with this has been really inspiring, and I love that. But you're living it's the hard part. It really is. So if we're talking to someone else who's identified, I know I need to do something with AI, but I don't know what. We're not a tech company. What would your recommendation be to somebody who has heard enough of the message to know, yeah, I need to do that? Where do they start? What do they do?
Well, obviously they can start with your community. I think that is a very base foundation of just figuring out what exactly is this chat and what is it? What does it look like? How to protect themselves so they're not everything's going out into the world and they're the product. Things like that. And then I would say intentionality, mindset and intentionality. If you feel that you're going to bump your head against the wall, you're going to feel uncomfortable. And whenever, as a visionary, if I feel uncomfortable and I'm bumping my head against the wall, I'm like, okay, I'm doing something right. I just need to stay at it. So find the right communities to get involved in and just attack it. And it's not going to be easy. And then take it and just develop it with like your leadership team internally so that they're comfortable with it and bring it on board. And then you can start to cascade it down throughout the team, and then do it in a way that gives them wins and also shows them exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it, how it's going to help us, how it's going to make their job easier, not replace them. I always hear that fear that they think, maybe just because I'm a visionary and own a company, that AI is going to replace people. But I just don't see that. I think that the human aspect's always going to be there. It's just going to maybe shift in what you do for a living. And I've heard it said, and maybe even you, Alex, has said it, that if you don't jump on AI now, it's progressing so fast, you're going to be left behind. It used to be like 24 to 36 months. I'd say it's probably between 9 and 18 months right now that you're going to be, all your competition is going to be way ahead of you if you're not starting to utilize AI.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate the wrap up and the advice for folks. So, Brett, thanks for jumping in with us today.
Absolutely. You're welcome. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see what we look like maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, the next day. It's moving that fast. Definitely. Definitely. Well, thank you again. And thanks everyone else for joining us on this Practical AI podcast. We're looking forward to continuing to bring you examples like Brett of folks who are living this and using AI to drive real impact with their business. So thanks for joining us.